Hello, I'm Mike Zahari, and I'm an executive of the Church of Scientology, Mission of Riverdale, 308 Broadview. This is Sunday service number 29. Bob Hill will be back next week. The topic of today's sermon is the three conditions of existence. We'll get into that. Scientology is a practical religion. It teaches a person how to know. That's what the word means, Scientology. Knowing how to know. So, understanding life can make it more of a game, less serious, more fun. So today's sermon is based on the writings of L. Ron Hubbard from the book Scientology, Fundamentals of Thought, and it's chapter 3, The Conditions of Existence. All right, so we'll get into this. We'll do a lot of examples so you'll see how this applies. Okay, the conditions of existence. There are three conditions of existence. These three conditions comprise, which means to make up, or be how it's put together, life. They are be, do, and have. Now this seems pretty simple, but stick with me on this one because it'll make sense as we get into it. The first conditions of existence is being. Being is defined as the assumption, which means the taking on or choosing, of a category of identity. It could be said to be the role in a game. So if you're in a game, say hockey, this is Canada, so somebody is the goalie. So he's the goal, he's the person who stops the puck from going into the goal. That's his job. And the defenseman is a defender against the opposition putting the puck in the net, and the goalie is your last line of defense. And then your forwards, they move forward to try and do the same thing on the other side, put the puck in the other net. So if you had the goalie being the forward, it wouldn't really work because he's not doing his job. He's not wearing the beingness that's been assigned to him. So the person who's whatever the position is, if he's the jockey on the horse, he has to realize that that's his beingness and he's in charge of the horse and he's trying to win the race. But if the horse is in control over him, he's not being the jockey. He's not being in charge. Therefore, the horse will do what he wants it to do, and he's not directing it. So beingness is very critical. So I'll move on. An example of beingness could be one's own name. Another example would be one's profession. Another example would be one's physical characteristic. Each and or all of these things could be called one's beingness. So you have, who's in charge. You have a bunch of kids, so who's in charge? Who's on this team? Who's on that team? Who's the leader? Who's the captain? Those are all beingnesses. Those are all things that you want to have assigned. Now in life, one of the things that in life that you're searching for very early is, what am I going to, who am I going to be? Am I going to be a doctor? Am I going to be a construction worker? Am I going to be a cook? These are all beingnesses. So you play these things around in your head and you're trying to figure out how you're going to slot into society on an accepted identity in society. Beingness is the first port. So carry on. Beingness is assumed by oneself or given to oneself or is attained. You could attain it by going to school long enough and then you become competent to be something. A doctor, you want to hope, because you look at the wall and you go, okay, he's got a certificate, which means he's done a certain amount of time to be able to wear the identity of a doctor. And because he has that label of a doctor, you are freely able to tell him what's going on and you hope he's got solutions to the problem. Now you can have a situation where somebody is made to be something that they don't want to have anything to do with. And this is, say, take a doctor again. A child is told he's going to be a doctor because that's just the way we've decided as parents. So now he has a beingness that's being pushed on him, and he has no interest in it whatsoever, which is going to affect how well he does in that profession, because he's not owning the beingness. He's not being the thing while he's learning the parts of the thing. So it's very important, one, find it and then want it. Now sometimes you can decide to be something and then try it a little bit and go, it's not for me. It's not a question of you don't know the tools. It's just really not for you once you've figured out exactly what's involved with it, at which point you can change a beingness. Now, people change beingnesses all the time. When you get in a car, you're the driver. When you're at home, if you have kids, you're the parent. You could be the husband, you could be the wife. Those are all beingnesses. You're helping your child with schooling of some nature. You're either a tutor or you're a teacher. These are beingnesses. This is the identity that you take on to do something, which is the next one. So we'll carry on. For example, in the playing of a game, each player has his own beingness, which we've covered. The second condition of existence is doing. Now, by doing we mean the action, the function, the accomplishment, as in something is now done, a painting is now painted, the attainment of goals. You tried to hit a ball with a bat, and you kept swinging in the ball, you kept missing the ball, and you're missing the ball, and missing the ball, and missing the ball, and then bam, you hit the ball. You did it. You did it. So that's a doingness. That's an attainment of a goal, the fulfillment of a purpose. So you're trying to feed a little child, it's first time with solid foods, and the food's going on the cheeks, and it's going on the floor, and it's going here, and it's going there, and then finally the food goes in, and the baby eats it and likes it. Bingo, you've done it. That's the doingness. You've attained the function of a purpose, the feeding of the child, or a change of position in space. So doingness. So you want to go and you want to see the zoo. Okay, so you're not at the zoo. You're here, wherever here is. So you get in your vehicle and you get on the road and you get to the zoo parking lot. You go through the gate, you pay your admission, all the rest of it, and there it is. Lo and behold, there's the zoo. That's a doingness. You moved from here to there so that you can now be in that place at the zoo. So that would be a doingness. So life is primarily has to do with things get done. Things are always being done. The light gives you, an illumination. That's a doingness of sorts. You eating, you driving, you talking, you're telling somebody a story. That's a doingness. And in life, a job really is a doingness. And somebody who's unemployed really is objecting to the fact that he's not being allowed to do. He wants to do at some level, he feels he's able to do, but society hasn't given him an okay to do, and he objects to that, rightfully so. And so you get into a strange situation of where an employer doesn't have money, so he can't pay you to do what you naturally want to do, and you need money to live, but you'd rather just do. You'd rather just help. You'd rather just drive the car. You'd rather just drive the bus. And if you got paid, that'd be a bonus. But doing is critical in today's society. Everybody's trying to do something. They want to do. We'll move on. The third condition of existence is havingness. By havingness, we mean the owning, possessing, being capable of commanding, positioning, taking charge of objects, energies, or spaces. There's a lot in this one. So it's when you attain, you get what you want. You pay for the ice cream cone and you get the ice cream cone and you lick the ice cream and the ice cream cone. That's a havingness. You've attained something. Taking charge of objects. So you want a bike, so you go to the store and you buy the bike, and the bike gets given to you and it's your bike, and you ride the bike, That's a havingness. It's now yours. You've taken possession of something, and you've changed its position. You've ridden the bike, so now it's yours. So if you take an example, say, of a camera, so you bought a camera, and you physically have the camera, but the camera's purpose is to take pictures, and you keep messing up on the pictures. So you physically have the camera, but the camera's purpose is to take pictures, and your pictures aren't very good. I mean, they're pictures, which is a havingness of sort, but you want better pictures. So you feel like you don't really have what it is that you feel you should have because you own a camera. So there's the attainment of the product at the end also, which is the havingness. So teaching somebody to read and they still can't read, there's no havingness there. The child did not learn, you did not teach. The havingness was missing. There was doing involved, but the doing wasn't very good, and it maybe goes all the way back to being, because you weren't really being a teacher. You were posturing, say, or you were being something that other people would look up to rather than doing the acts of something to attain a product. Okay? Here we go. The game of life demands that one assumes a beingness in order to accomplish a doingness in the direction of havingness. These three conditions are given in an order of seniority, which is importance, where life is concerned. The ability to be is more important than the ability to do. The ability to do is more important than the ability to have. In most people, all three conditions are sufficiently confused that they are best understood in reverse order. When one has clarified the idea of havingness or possession, one can then proceed to clarify doingness or the general activity, and then when this is done, one understands beingness or identity. So let's take an example of a car. So you get in the car and you're sort of being the driver of the car. You have this, you're projecting a symbol, or you're projecting sort of, look at me, I own this beautiful car. But you're not really driving the car. You're sort of, you have to decide, you got in the car, what am I going to do? I want to get from here to the restaurant. Okay, that's the havingness, the restaurant's the havingness. So what do I got to do? Well, I got to move the vehicle and me, the doingness, from where I am to the restaurant. Good. And what do I have to do what do I have to be to do that? Well, I've got to be the person in charge of the car, to move the car, to get to the place that I want to get to the restaurant. So you can work it backwards too. You can figure it out. Okay, so what's the end goal here? Break it down. So what do I have to do to attain that? And what would I have to be able to do that? And too many people don't assume the beingness. So they never get to the doingness, and the havingness is all strange, or they fail. All right? I'll carry on. It is essential to a successful existence that each of these three conditions be clarified and understood. The ability to assume or to grant, which means to give or allow, beingness is probably the highest of human virtues. It is even more important to be able to permit other people to have beingness than to be able oneself to assume it. Now, you've seen little kids and they play and they roll, they become Gollum, or they become, all manner of, they become a fairy, or they're a dragon, or this. What are they doing? They're being different things. And some of them match up with reality and some of them don't, or it's their reality, it's just not this reality, and that's fine. It's still a creativity. But if you squash that, if you squash the ability to be, then you've taken away a creativity in somebody. So a cabinet maker, prior to the first cabinet maker, didn't exist. He assumed the beingness of somebody who could make cabinets, to have cabinets. Don't assume that cabinet makers don't exist just because nobody's seen it before. You're the first one. Everybody after that is now being what you started off as a beingness. It's the same thing with kids and creativity. Just because they dream it and it hasn't existed yet doesn't mean that it couldn't. It's very critical. So just bear that in mind. Okay? I'm now going to read the Creed of the Church. We of the Church believe that all men of whatever race, color, or creed were created with equal rights. That all men have inalienable rights to their own religious practices and their performance. That all men have inalienable rights to their own lives. That all men have inalienable rights to their sanity. That all men have inalienable rights to their own defense. That all men have inalienable rights to conceive, choose, assist, or support their own organization, churches, and governments. That all men have inalienable rights to think freely, to talk freely, to write freely their own opinions, and to counter or utter or write upon the opinions of others. That all men have inalienable rights to the creation of their own kind. That the souls of men have the rights of men. That the study of the mind and the healing of mentally caused ills should not be alienated from religion or condoned in non-religious fields. And that no agency less than God has the power to suspend or set aside these rights overtly or covertly. And we of the Church believe that man is basically good, and he is seeking to survive. And his survival depends upon himself and depends upon his fellows and his attainment of brotherhood with the universe. And we of the Church believe that the laws of God forbid man to destroy his own kind, to destroy the sanity of another, to destroy or enslave another's soul, to destroy or reduce the survival of one's companions or one's group. And we of the Church believe that the spirit can be saved and that the spirit alone may save or heal the body. All right, and we will end here with Scientology prayer for total freedom. May the author of the universe enable all men to reach an understanding of their spiritual nature. May awareness and understanding of life expand so that all may come to know the author of the universe. And may others also reach this understanding, which brings total freedom. At this time, we think of those whose liberty is threatened, of those who have suffered imprisonment for their beliefs, for those who are enslaved or martyred, and for all those who are brutalized, attacked, or trapped. We pray that human rights will be preserved so that all people may believe and worship freely, so that freedom will once again be seen in our land. Freedom from war and poverty and want, freedom to be, freedom to do, and freedom to have. Freedom to use and understand man's potential, a potential that is God-given and God-like. And freedom to achieve that understanding and awareness that is total freedom. May God let it be so. Well, all right. So that's it for today. So decide whatever it is that you want to be and do in life and go do it and have fun doing it. All right? Till next week.